Hi friends, welcome back to Parnika tutorials. From today, I will discuss about CSS, which is Cascading Style Sheet. So I sincerely request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. If you want to learn about CSS, you should have a good knowledge about HTML. So the prerequisite for this course is HTML. So HTML is what? Hypertext markup language. If you know the HTML, then only you can understand about CSS. Then you can ask me, sir, where we can learn about HTML? In the Parnika tutorials YouTube channel, I have already uploaded HTML course. So I sincerely request everyone to go and watch those videos and then come to this video. In this video, I will discuss about introduction to CSS. Okay, so I will discuss what is CSS, why should we learn CSS, what are the various versions are there, all these things I will discuss in detail for you. First, let me discuss the demerits of HTML. Using the HTML hypertext markup language, we can create a web page. We have various tags, attributes, all these things. We can create the web pages, like we can create a list inside the web page, we can upload an image, all these things we can do using HTML. But the problem with the HTML or the limitation of the HTML is we cannot add the styles. Only few attributes are there. Using those few attributes we can add little bit style to the web page, but they are very limited. If you want to add a style to the HTML, then we need to know about CSS. So CSS is a simply designed language intended to simplify the process of making the web page presentable. So if you want to make your web page very stylish in nature, then you need to use the designed language called CSS. So I can say CSS allows you to apply styles to the web page. So using the HTML, we can create a web page. If you want to add a style, you can use the CSS. So it describes how a web page should look. It prescribes colors, fonts, spacing, and much more things are possible using the CSS. So using the HTML, we can just create the web page. If you want to add the colors, if you want to add different font styles, if you want to add some feel and look, all these things is possible using the CSS. Now let me discuss why we should learn about the CSS. Okay, the CSS is useful for you to apply the styles to the web page. Any other advantages are there? Yeah, there are several advantages with the CSS. One is that it saves the time, easy maintenance, superior styles to the HTML, and offline browsing. These are the advantages of CSS. So that's why we should have a knowledge about the CSS, and also we should use the CSS while we are designing the web pages. Now first let me discuss how the CSS saves your time. You can write the CSS once and reuse the same style in multiple web pages. Suppose let's take that in your website 10 web pages are there. For the 10 web pages, you want to have same style. For each web page, instead of creating separate styles, for all these web pages, if you want to have the same style, that same style you will create once and reuse it for all these 10 pages. In CSS, we have various styles. One is inline CSS, internal CSS, and then external CSS is there. Using the external CSS, whatever the style you want to apply, you can apply for more than one web page. So that's why CSS saves your time. Now let me discuss how the CSS will make your maintenance easy. As I said earlier, you can write CSS once and reuse the same style sheet to multiple web pages, right? So multiple web pages will have the same style. If you want to change the style for all these web pages, instead of doing the changes for each web page, you can do those changes in the external CSS. Suppose let's take that you want to change the font style, you want to change the color, you want to change the font size. All these are the common changes you want to do in your web page. those changes, instead of doing it in each page separately, you can do those changes in the external CSS and again apply to all these web pages. Then what are the changes you want to do, it will be reflected in all these web pages. So it is very easy to do the maintenance using the CSS. Now let me discuss about superior styles to HTML. In HTML also, every tag has an attributes. Using those attributes, you can provide the color, all these simple styles you can do. But the disadvantage of the HTML is the styles are very limited. If you want to have a wide variety of styles, then we can use the CSS. So CSS has a much wider array of attributes than HTML. So you can give a far better look to your web page in comparison to the HTML attributes. So as I said earlier, using the HTML attributes also we can provide the styles, but they are very limited. But however, using the CSS, you can provide a better look, proper style to your web page. See, everyone is very good at creating the web pages, but once you go to the web page, the first thing you will look at is the what kind of color they have used, what kind of font style they have used. That will attract the user, right? So you need to be very good at preparing your web page very stylishly, so that you can do using the CSS. So now let me discuss about offline browsing. CSS can store web applications locally with the help of an offline cache. Using this, we can view our offline websites. So what are the style changes you are doing, right? You no need to launch those website and verify it. You can do those changes in the offline itself. So that is possible using the cache. So CSS stores the web applications locally with the help of an offline cache. Using this, we can view our websites offline. No need to go for online. Now let me discuss various released versions of CSS. CSS version 1 have been released in 1996. Version 2 have been released in 1998. Version 2.1 has been released in 2004, and CSS version 3 was released in 1999. The latest version, CSS 4, has been released in 2007. So whatever the version we are using now, it has been released in 2007. The first version was released in 1996. So it started from 1996. Earlier also, people used to design the web pages using the HTML, but they are not very stylish. Once the CSS came into the picture, the websites became very stylish. Now let me discuss what is the syntax of applying any style to the element of HTML. So any style will have two components. One is selector and the declaration. The selector points to the HTML element you want to apply the style. Suppose let's take that in HTML we have h1 tag. The h1 tag is useful for you to provide the heading. Okay, now for this tag, if you want to apply the style, then we will call this one as a selector. So selector is the tag or an HTML element you want to apply the style. And then the declaration block consists of more than one declarations separated by a semicolon. So every declaration includes the CSS property name and a value. So property name meaning is that, let's say that you want to apply the color. So color we will call it as a property name, and every color will have some value, right? Blue, white, red, all these things we'll call them as a value. So a generalized syntax will consist of two major components. One is the selector and the declaration. So selector points that to which HTML element you want to apply the style. The declaration block consists of the more than one declaration separated by a semicolon. So for a single element you can apply more styles, right? So all the styles you can separate it with a semicolon. Suppose let's take that for this h1 tag I want to apply the color and font size. Now these two are the two property names, right? One is color and another one is the font size. Color will have some value like blue, red, all these things. Font size will have 12 pixel, 10 pixel, all these things, right? So the color, font size, all these things will call it as a property name, and every property name will have a value, right? So that value you need to provide. So now let me discuss with a simple example. Here P is the HTML element, so I will call this as a selector, and this is your declaration block. In this declaration block we have two declarations separated by a semicolon. Each declaration has a property name and the value. Here the property name is the color. The property name specifies what kind of style you want to apply, whether it is a text align, background color, font size. All these are your property names. Every property name will have a value. Let's take that you have the color. Color can be a white, red, blue, green, etc., right? So blue, white, red, green, will call them as a values. And similarly text align is a property, and the value here I am providing it as a center. So this is the way you can apply the styles to the web page using the CSS. In the next video I will discuss few more concepts for better understanding. If you still have any doubts related to this video, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.